Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 85, Lord Krishna instructs Vasudeva and retrieves Devaki's sons. Text number 11 onwards. Bhutanamasi bhutadir indriyanam cha tejasa vekariko vikalpanam pradhanam anushayanam. So Vasudevji is glorifying Krishna here. Your false ego in the mode of ignorance, which is a source of the physical elements. False ego in the mode of passion, which is a source of bodily senses. False ego in the mode of goodness, which is a source of the demigods and the unmanifest, total material energy, which underlines everything, which underlies everything. So basically he's saying everything comes from you. Nashvaresh ivaha bhaveshu tadasi tvam anashvaram yatha dravya vikareshu dravya matram nirupitam. You're the one indestructible entity among all the destructible things of this world, like the underlying substance that is seen to remain unchanged, while the things made from it undergo transformations. Sattvam rajastama iti gunastad vrityaschatyah tvayabdha brahmani pare kalpita yoga mayaya. The modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, together with all their functions, become directly manifest within you, the supreme absolute truth, by the arrangement of your yoga maya. Vasudeva's description of how the Supreme Lord expands himself into the products of the three material modes may possibly be misunderstood to imply that he is touched by the modes, or even that he is subject to destruction. So here he is clearly saying everything is destroyed, but not you. That the three modes and their products function by the arrangement of Lord's creative energy, Yogamaya, who is always completely under his control. Thus, the Lord is never tainted in the least by any material contact. Tasmanna santyammi bhava yarhi tvai vikalpita tvam chameshu vikareshu ye anyada vyavarika. Thus, these created entities, transformations of material nature, do not exist except when material nature manifests them within you, at which time you also manifest within them. But aside from such periods of creation, you stand alone as a transcendental reality. So you're beyond, you're way beyond, above all this material nature's manifestation, unmanifestation. Purport. When the universe is wound up at the time of its periodic annihilation, all the inert objects and bodies of living beings that hitherto were manifested by the Lord's Maya become disconnected from his sight. Then, since he maintains no association with them during the period of universal dissolution, they in fact no longer exist. In other words, material manifestations have real functioning existence only when the Lord turns his attention to the creation and maintenance of the material cosmos. But he is always existing, always there, performing his pastimes. Guna pravaha etasmin abuddhastva akhilatmana gatim sukshmam bodhena sansarantihi karma bhi. They are truly ignorant who, while imprisoned within the ceaseless flow of this world's material qualities, fail to know you, the supreme soul of all that be, as their ultimate sublime destination. Because of their ignorance, the entanglement of material work forces such souls to wander in the cycle of birth and death. A soul who forgets his true identity as a servant of God is sent to this world to be imprisoned in a succession of material bodies. Wrongly identifying himself with these bodies, such a conditioned soul suffers the consequent distress of karmic action and reaction. Vasudeva, as a compassionate Vaishnava, laments for the suffering conditioned souls whose unhappiness as a result of ignorance can be remedied by knowledge of the principles of devotion service to Lord Krishna. But the souls, the conditioned souls, are so ignorant and so unfortunate. Although we all are suffering in the material world, but we think we can somehow make it. That's all. We don't need God. We don't even realize there is a way to get out of here. Yadrichya nritam prapya sukalpam ihi durlabham swarte pramatasya vayo gatam tvan mayayeshvara. By good fortune, a soul may obtain a healthy human life, an opportunity rarely achieved. But if he is nonetheless deluded about what is best for him, O Lord, your illusory Maya will cause him to waste his entire life. And this is happening all over the world. Everybody is just wasting this most precious human life. Asahavam mamayavete dehe chasyanya vadishu snehe pashar bibadnati bhavan sarvam idam jagat. You keep this whole world bound up by the ropes of affection. And thus when people consider the material bodies, they think this is me. And when they consider their progeny and other relations, they think these are mine. And undoubtedly, this is going on everywhere. Yuvam nana suto saksha pradhan purusheshvaro bhuma rakshatra vakshapana avatirno tathatatha. You're not our sons, but the very lords of both material nature and its creator Mahavishnu. As you yourself has told us, you have descended to rid the earth of the rulers who are a heavy burden upon her. So here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, in this verse, Vasudeva offers himself and his wife as excellent examples of those who are materially deluded. Although at the time of his birth in Kansa's prison, Lord Krishna told Vasudeva and Devaki that his mission was to rid the earth of unwanted Kshatriyas. Still, his two parents could not avoid thinking of him as a helpless son who needed protection from King Kansa. In reality, of course, both Vasudeva and Devaki were participating in the divine pastime of the Lord's birth under the perfect direction of his internal energy. Only out of transcendental humility does Vasudeva criticize himself in this way. Of course, Vasudeva is beyond this, but he is thinking that I'm also thinking the same way. You're my progeny and I'm this body. Tatte gato asya ranam adya padarvindam apanna samsriti bhayapahmarta bandho etavatalam indriya lalasena martyatma driktvai pare yat patya buddhi. Therefore, O friend of the distressed, I now approach your lotus feet for shelter. The same lotus feet that dispel all fear of worldly existence for those who have surrendered to them. Enough with hankering for sense enjoyment, which makes me identify with this mortal body and think of you, the Supreme, as my child. Srila Jiva Goswami suggests that Vasudeva condemns himself here for thinking of trying to gain special opulences because he is the father of the Supreme Lord. Thus, Vasudeva contrasts himself with Nanda, the king of Braja, who is satisfied with pure love of God and nothing else. Suti grihe nanu jagad bhavan jo no sajjagya iti anuyugam nij dharma guptya nana tanur gagan vad vid jahasi ko ved bhumna urgay vibhuti maya. Indeed, while still in the maternity room, you told us that you, the unborn Lord, had already been born several times as our son in previous ages. After manifesting each of these transcendental bodies to protect your own principles of religion, you then made them unmanifest, thus appearing and disappearing like a cloud. O supremely glorified, all-pervading Lord, who can understand the mystic, deluding potency of your opulent expansions? Lord Krishna was first born to Vasudeva and Devaki in the previous lives as Sutapa and Prishni. So he was at Prishni Garbha. Later they again became his parents as Kashyap and Aditi. So that time he became Vamandev. This then was the third time he had appeared as their son. Shri Shukvacha. Akarnya tatham piturvakyam bhagwan sattvat rishabha pratyah prashraya namraha prahasan lakshanaya gira. Shukdev Goswami said, having heard his father's words, the Supreme Lord, leader of the Sattvatas, replied in a gentle voice as he bowed his head in humility and smiled. Jiva Goswami describes that Krishna is thinking, Vasudeva has been honored with the eternal role of my father. Sometimes even demigods like Brahma cannot aspire for, something that even demigod like Brahma cannot aspire for. Therefore, he shouldn't be absorbed in thinking of my godly aspects. Moreover, his reverence greatly embarrasses me. It was to avoid this very situation that after killing Kamsa, I made a special effort to reinforce the pure parental love for me and Balramji. But see, at the same time, the feeling or mood of Yashoda Maya Nanda Baba, they never speak to Krishna like this. They never treat him as Supreme Lord. This is their parental and maternal love for Krishna. Shri Bhagwan Vacha, Vacho va samvetartham tated upmanmahe yanna putrana samuddishya tattva grama udahrata. The Supreme Lord said, my dear father, I consider your statements appropriate since you have explained the various categories of existence by referring to us, your sons. Aham yuyam asavarya imecha dwaraka ukasaha sarve api evam yadushreshta vimrigya sacharacharam. Not only I, but also you, along with my respected brother and these residents of Dwarka, should all be considered in this same philosophical light, best of the Yadus. Indeed, we should include all that exists, both moving and non-moving. To protect his parents' intimate relationship with him, Lord Krishna stresses the oneness of all existence in his statement to his father Vasudeva. Vasudeva had been reminded of his son's greatness by hearing the sages gathered at Kurukshetra. But his sense of awe was ruining his intimate parental relationship with Krishna, and therefore Krishna wanted to dispel it. Atma hi ekam swam jyotir nityo anyo nirguna guna atma srishtas tatkriteshu bhuteshu bahudeyate. The Supreme Spirit Paramatma is indeed one. He is self-luminous and eternal, transcendental and devoid of material qualities. But through the agency of the very modes he has created, the one supreme truth manifests as many among the expansions of those modes. Kham vayur jyotirapu bhusa tatkriteshu yathashayam avistiro alpa bhuryeko nanatvam yatya savapi. The elements of ether, air, fire, water, and earth become visible, invisible, minute, or extensive as they manifest in various objects. Similarly, the Paramatma, though one, appears to become many. So, this many doesn't mean he takes the form of the soul. This many means he enters each and every atom. The one Paramatma appears to be many by the influence of the modes of nature that he himself creates. How is that? Because although in truth the Paramatma is self-eliminating, eternal, aloof from everything, and free of the modes of nature, when he appears as his manifestations, he seems to be just the opposite. a multiplicity of temporary objects saturated with the modes of nature. Just the elements of earth and so on, when manifesting in parts and other things, seems to appear and disappear. So the Paramatma seems to appear and disappear in his various manifestations, but he is always there. He just appears and disappears. Shri Shukavacha, Evam Bhagavata Rajan, Vasudev Udahrita, Shrutva Vinashta Nanadis, Tushnim Pritamana Bhut. Shukdev Goswami said, O king, hearing these instructions spoken to him by the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva became freed from all ideas of duality. Satisfied at heart, he remained silent. Atha tatra kurushreshta devaki sarva devata shutva nitam guru putram atma jabhyam suvismita Krishna Ramo samashravya putran kansu vihinsitan smaranti kripanam praha Vaklavyad ashru lochanam. At that time, O best of the Kurus, the universally worshipped Devaki, took the opportunity to address her two sons, Krishna and Balram. Previously, she had heard with astonishment that they had brought their spiritual master's son back from death. Now, thinking of her own sons who had been murdered by Kansa, she felt great sorrow, and thus with tear-filled eyes, she besieged Krishna and Balram. So Vasudevji had so much of philosophy to say. The Devaki, Mother Devaki is simple. I don't know about philosophy, just bring back my sons. Vasudev's love for Krishna had been disturbed because of his awareness of Krishna's opulence, conflicting with seeing him as his son. In a different way, Devaki's love was somewhat distracted by her lamentation for her dead sons. So Krishna arranged to relieve her of the mistaken idea that anyone else but him was actually her son. Since Devaki is known to be worshipped by all great souls, her show of maternal affection must actually have been an effect of the Lord's Yogamaya, who increases the pleasure of his pastimes. Shri Devaki Uvacha, Rama Rama Prameyatman Krishna Yogeshwareshwara Vedaham Va Vishwasrijam Ishvara Av Adipurusho. Shri Devaki said, O Rama, Rama, immeasurable Supreme Soul, O Krishna, Lord of all masters of yoga, I know that you are the ultimate rulers of all universal creators, the primeval personalities of Godhead. Kala vidvastat sattvanam ragyam uchasrivartinam bhumera bharaya mananam avatirno kiladyame. Taking birth from me, you have now descended to this world in order to kill those kings whose good qualities have been destroyed by the present age, and who thus defy the authority of revealed scriptures and burden the earth. Yasyanshansha bhagena vishvotpattil yodaya bhavanti kil vishvatmans tam tvadyam gatim gata. O soul of all that be, the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe are all carried out by a fraction of an expansion of an expansion of your expansion. So this universe, taking care of the universe is no big deal. Fraction of an expansion of expansion of your expansion. Today I have come to take shelter of you, the Supreme Lord. So Srila Sridhar Swami explains this as follows. The Lord of Vaikuntha Narayan is but one expansion of Shri Krishna. Mahavishnu, the first creator, is Lord Narayan's expansion. Total material energy emanates from Mahavishnu's glands, and of that total material energy, the three modes of nature are divided portions. Thus it is Shri Krishna, acting through his expansion, who generates, sustains, and dissolves the universe. Chiranamrita sutadane guruna kila chodito ananyathu pitristhanan guruve guru dakshinam tatha me kurutam kamam yuvam yogeshwareshwaro bhojaraj hatan putran kame drishtum mahritam. It is said that when your spiritual master ordered you to retrieve his long dead son, so that was Sandipni Muni who asked him, you brought him back from the forefathers' abode as a token of remuneration for your Guru's mercy. Please fulfill my desire in the same way, O Supreme Master of all Yoga Masters. Please bring back my sons who were killed by the king of Bhoja so that I may see them once again. So this is mother's heart. Although the sons were dead long time back, but she is still always thinking of them. And having Krishna and Ram as her sons, she said this is the best thing to ask them. Rishiruvacha, evam sanchodito matra, Rama Krishnasya Bharata, sutalam sam vivishastur yoga mayam upashito. Sage Shukdev Goswami said, thus entreated by their mother, O Bharat, Balaram and Krishna employed the mystic Yogamaya potency and entered the region of Sutal. Tasmin pravishtav upalabhya daitirat Vishwatma Devam Sutaram Tatatmana Taddarshanalad Pariplutashaya Sadhya Samuthaya Nanam Sanvaya. When the king of the Daityas, Bali Maharaj, noticed the arrival of the two lords, his heart overflowed with joy, since he knew them to be the supreme soul and worshipable deity of the entire universe, and especially of himself. He immediately stood up and then bowed down to offer respects along with his entire entourage. So they went to Sutaloka where Bali Maharaj was ruling. Tayo samaniya varasanam mudha nivishtayo statra mahatmanostayo tadara padava vanijya tadjalam savrinda abrahma punnatyadambuha. Bali took pleasure in offering them elevated seats. After they sat down, he washed the feet of the two supreme personalities. Then he took that water which purifies the whole world, even up to Lord Brahma, and poured it upon himself and his followers. Samarhayama sato vibhutibhir maharha vastra bharananu tambula deepa amrita bhakshanadibhi swagotra vittatma samarpanena cha. He worshipped them with all the riches at his disposal, priceless clothing, ornaments, fragrant sandalwood paste, betel nut, lamps, sumptuous food, and so on. Thus he offered them all his family's wealth and also his own self. Bali Maharaj's devotional attitude is renowned as a perfect example of complete self-surrender. When Lord Vishnu, in the guise of a young Brahmin student, approached him for charity, Bali offered all he possessed, and when he had nothing more to offer, he surrendered himself as the Supreme Lord's eternal servant. So Bali Maharaj is a culmination of complete self-surrender. Saindraseno Bhagavata Padambujam Vibranmuhu Prema Vibhinnaya Dhiya Vachahananda Jalakulekshana Prihrishta Roma Nrip Tad Gadaksharam. Taking hold of the Lord's lotus feet again and again, Bali, the conqueror of Indra's army, spoke from his heart, which was melting out of his intense love. O king, as tears of ecstasy filled his eyes and the hair on his limbs stood on end, he began to speak with faltering words. Srila Prabhupada explains, King Bali was feeling such transcendental pleasure that he repeatedly grasped the Lord's lotus feet and kept them on his chest, and sometimes he put them on the top of his head. In this way, he felt transcendental bliss. Tears of love and affection began to flow from his eyes, and all his bodily hairs stood on end. Baliruvacha, Namo Anantaya Brihate, Namah Krishnaya Vedase, Sankhya Yoga Vitanaya, Brahmane Paramatmane. King Bali said, obeisances to the unlimited Lord Ananta, the greatest of all beings, and obeisances to Lord Krishna, the creator of the universe, who appears as an impersonal absolute in the super soul in order to disseminate the principles of Sankhya and Yoga. Darshanam vam hi bhutanam dushprapam chapi durlabham rajastama svabhavanam yanna prapto yadrichaya. Seeing you, lords, is a rare achievement for most living beings. But even persons like us, situated in the modes of passion and ignorance, can easily see you when you reveal yourself by your own sweet will. By ascribing to himself the degraded status of a demoniac birth, Bali Maharaj denied any spiritual qualification for being visited by Krishna and Balaram. What to speak of demons like himself, Bali thought, even advanced renunciants on the paths of Jnana and Yoga fail to please the Lord when they do not give up their pride and envy. See the difference between devotees, how they receive the Lord, and the demons. Demons, when they see the Lord, they want to kill him. We saw so many demons here. Shalva and Pondra, so many demons. But the devotees, they receive him, they worship him. And that's why the Lord is just always grateful to his devotees. He always loves his devotees. So, well, beautiful chapter, but still long way to go. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri